The morning sun filtered through the windows of Ridgemont High School as students rushed through the hallways, catching up with friends they hadn't seen all summer. Locker doors slammed shut, laughter echoed off the walls, and the smell of fresh paint mixed with cafeteria breakfast lingered in the air. It was the first day of the new school year, and everyone seemed to know exactly where they belonged. Everyone except Jasmine Carter. She stood near the main entrance, clutching the straps of her backpack a little too tightly. Her dark curls were pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore a plain white t-shirt with jeans. Nothing flashy, nothing that would draw attention. That was exactly how she wanted it. Jasmine took a deep breath and stepped inside. The noise hit her immediately. Hundreds of voices talking at once, shoes squeaking on polished floors, phones buzzing with notifications. She pulled out the crumpled schedule from her pocket and tried to find room 204 for her first class. The hallway seemed like a maze, and every face was unfamiliar. "Excuse me," she said softly to a group of girls chatting by the water fountain. They glanced at her briefly, then continued their conversation as if she hadn't spoken at all. Jasmine felt her cheeks warm but kept walking. She'd find it eventually. What none of these students knew was that Jasmine's father was one of the biggest movie stars in the world. Vin Diesel had adopted her 8 years ago when she was just 7 years old. She still remembered that day clearly. She'd been at a charity event for foster children, sitting alone in the corner while other kids played. He'd walked over, sat down beside her, and asked if she liked cars. That simple question had changed her entire life, but Jasmine never wanted people to know her because of her father's fame. She'd seen how kids at her old school changed once they found out. Suddenly everyone wanted to be her friend. Everyone wanted invitations to movie premieres. Everyone wanted something. So when her dad asked where she wanted to go to high school, she'd made one request. Could she use her original last name Carter instead of his? Could she just be normal? He'd understood. He always understood. Now here she was at Ridgemont High, just another sophomore trying to find her way. She finally located her first class and slipped into a seat near the back. The teacher, Mrs. Lopez, seemed nice enough. She talked about the syllabus and what they'd be learning this year. Jasmine took notes carefully, already feeling a bit more relaxed. The morning passed without incident. English, math, history. Each class was fine, anonymous, safe. By lunchtime, Jasmine was starting to think this might actually work. Maybe she really could just blend in and have a normal high school experience. The cafeteria was massive and loud. Jasmine grabbed a tray with a sandwich and an apple, then scanned the room for somewhere to sit. Most tables were already full of friend groups who clearly knew each other from previous years. She spotted an empty chair at a table near the windows and headed toward it. "That seat's taken," a voice said before Jasmine could even set her tray down. Jasmine looked up. A girl with perfect blonde hair and designer clothes stared at her with cold blue eyes. Everything about her screamed money and confidence. 3 other girls sat at the table, all watching the interaction with interest. "Oh, sorry," Jasmine said quietly. "I didn't see anyone sitting here." "Well, now you know," the blonde girl said, examining her manicured nails. "Madison Pierce sits there. That's me. And this whole table is for my friends." The way she said "my friends" made it clear that Jasmine would never be considered for that position. Jasmine nodded and turned to find another spot. "Wait," Madison called out. Jasmine turned back, hoping maybe she'd had a change of heart. "Is that jacket from the new fall collection?" Madison asked, her eyes narrowing as she looked at what Jasmine was wearing. Jasmine glanced down at her denim jacket. It was, actually. Her dad had given it to her for her birthday last month. It had been designed by one of the hottest new fashion designers and wasn't even in stores yet. She hadn't thought about it when she put it on this morning. Yeah," Jasmine said. Madison's expression shifted slightly. "Where'd you get it?" "That collection isn't released yet." Jasmine's mind raced. She couldn't exactly say her famous father got it from the designer personally. "It was a gift," she said simply. "Right," Madison said, her tone making it clear she didn't believe her. "A gift, sure." One of Madison's friends giggled. Another whispered something that made the whole table smirk. Jasmine felt her stomach twist but kept her face neutral. She turned and walked away, finally finding an empty table in the far corner of the cafeteria. She sat down and tried to focus on her sandwich, but it tasted like cardboard. She pulled out her phone and saw a text from her dad. "How's the first day going, kiddo?" "Knock 'em dead. Love you." Jasmine smiled despite everything. She typed back quickly. Going good. Classes seem okay. Love you too. She wasn't going to worry him. He was in Bulgaria filming his latest movie, working 16-hour days. He didn't need to know that she'd already had an awkward encounter with what appeared to be the school's queen bee. It was nothing. Just typical high school drama. She could handle it. The afternoon classes went smoothly enough. Jasmine kept to herself, took notes, and didn't try to make conversation with anyone. But she couldn't shake the feeling that people were looking at her. She'd catch students glancing her way and then whispering to their friends. Maybe it was just new kid paranoia. When the final bell rang, Jasmine felt relieved. She'd survived day one. She walked to her locker to grab her books for homework and nearly dropped everything when she opened the door. Someone had stuffed a note inside. She unfolded it carefully. Nice jacket. Too bad you probably stole it. Watch your back, thief. The words were written in pink gel pen with little hearts dotting the eyes. The contrast between the cute handwriting and the nasty message made Jasmine's hands shake slightly. She crumpled the note and shoved it into her backpack. Don't react, she told herself. That's what they want. The next few days followed a similar pattern. Madison would make snide comments whenever they crossed paths. Once in the bathroom, she'd loudly told her friends that some people try way too hard to look rich when everyone knows they're not. Jasmine had been washing her hands 2 sinks over. Another time, Madison had deliberately bumped into her in the hallway, causing Jasmine's books to scatter everywhere. When Jasmine bent down to pick them up, Madison had stepped on one of her papers, leaving a dirty shoe print. Oops, Madison had said without a trace of apology before walking away. Jasmine started taking different routes between classes to avoid Madison. She ate lunch quickly and spent the rest of the period in the library. She kept her head down and tried to become invisible. But Madison seemed to have some kind of radar. No matter where Jasmine went, the harassment found her. It was during the second week of school that things got worse. Jasmine was walking to her locker after third period when she noticed people staring at their phones and then looking at her. One group of guys actually laughed as she passed. A girl she'd never spoken to gave her a pitying look. Jasmine's heart began to race. She pulled out her own phone and opened the school's anonymous social media page that most students followed. Her stomach dropped. There was a photo of her from that first day in the cafeteria, awkwardly holding her lunch tray. Someone had edited it to make her look ridiculous, adding a crown that said wannabe queen and designer logos all over her clothes. The caption read, "When you show up wearing fake designer stuff thinking nobody will notice." Girl, we all noticed. The post had dozens of likes and comments. Most were laughing emojis. Some were worse. Who even is she? Probably bought that jacket at a thrift store, lol. She thinks she's so special, but she's nobody. Jasmine felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not where people could see. She turned and walked quickly toward the nearest bathroom, locking herself in a stall. She sat on the closed toilet lid and tried to breathe normally. This wasn't just about a seat in the cafeteria anymore. Madison was actively trying to destroy her reputation over something completely stupid, over a jacket, over nothing. Jasmine wanted to call her dad, but what would she say? That she was being bullied because someone thought she was pretending to be rich? The irony was almost funny. If Madison knew the truth, she'd probably be the first person trying to be her friend. But that was exactly what Jasmine didn't want. She didn't want fake friends who only cared about her famous father. She wanted real connections. She wanted to be liked for who she was, not who her dad was. She stayed in that bathroom stall until the bell rang for fourth period. When she finally emerged, her eyes were dry and her face was composed. She'd made it through worse things in her life. She'd survived the foster system before her adoption. She'd dealt with moving to a new country, learning a new language, adjusting to a life she'd never imagined. She could survive Madison Pierce. That afternoon, Jasmine found herself in the guidance counselor's office. Not because she'd asked to be there, but because Mrs. Lopez had noticed she seemed upset and had sent her. Mr. Chen, the counselor, was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and an office full of plants. "So, Jasmine," he said gently, sitting across from her. "Want to tell me how things are going?" Jasmine shrugged. "Fine." Mrs. Lopez seemed concerned. "She said you looked like you might have been crying." "I'm fine," Jasmine repeated, looking at her hands. Mr. Chen was quiet for a moment. "You know, being the new kid is tough. especially sophomore year when everyone already has their friend groups established. If someone's giving you a hard time, we can address it. For a moment, Jasmine considered telling him everything. About Madison, about the social media post, about feeling alone and targeted. But what would he do? Talk to Madison? That would only make it worse. Make her look like a snitch who couldn't handle her own problems. I'm okay, really, Jasmine said, forcing a small smile. Just adjusting. That's all. Mr. Chen didn't look convinced, but he nodded. Well, my door is always open. If anything changes, if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. That's what I'm here for. Thank you, Jasmine said, and she meant it, even if she wasn't ready to accept help yet. It was good to know someone cared. As she left his office, Jasmine made a decision. She would stick it out. She would prove she was stronger than Madison's petty games. She'd been through harder things than this. She could be tough. She just had no idea how much tougher things were about to get. 3 weeks had passed since that first day at Ridgemont High, and Jasmine had learned to navigate the hallways like a soldier in enemy territory. She knew which bathrooms Madison frequented and avoided them. She knew which routes between classes were safer. She'd even figured out that if she arrived at lunch exactly 7 minutes late, she could grab food and find a quiet corner before Madison noticed her. But avoidance only worked so well. It was a Thursday morning when Jasmine discovered someone had broken into her locker. Well, not broken exactly. They'd somehow figured out the combination. Her textbooks were still there, but someone had gone through her things. Her gym clothes were missing. In their place was a note written on expensive stationery that smelled like perfume. Thought you might need some real designer clothes. Oh wait, you can't afford them. Jasmine closed her locker slowly, her jaw tight. She'd need to get new gym clothes before 5th period, which meant explaining to the PE teacher why she wasn't prepared. Another small humiliation to add to the growing list. In English class that morning, Mrs. Lopez assigned a group project. Students were supposed to work in teams of 4, to analyze a novel and present their findings. Jasmine's heart sank as groups immediately formed around her, friends pulling their desks together while she sat alone. Jasmine, you can join Bradley, Amy, and Josh, Mrs. Lopez said, gesturing to a group that was already 3 people. The 3 students looked less than thrilled. Bradley, a tall kid with glasses, just nodded. Amy, who Jasmine recognized as one of Madison's friends, rolled her eyes. Josh didn't react at all, too busy on his phone. So, when do you guys want to meet? Jasmine asked as they gathered their desks together. We'll just text about it, Amy said dismissively. What's your number? Jasmine recited it, and Amy typed it into her phone without making eye contact. The rest of the class period was awkward, with Jasmine's suggestions for the project being mostly ignored. When the bell rang, she tried not to take it personally. She tried to tell herself it didn't matter. But it did matter. It all mattered. By lunchtime, Jasmine was exhausted from pretending everything was fine. She grabbed a salad and a bottle of water, then headed to her usual spot in the back corner of the library where the ancient computers nobody used were kept. She'd started eating there after the cafeteria became too stressful. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through messages from her dad. He'd sent her a funny meme that morning and a photo of him on set wearing a ridiculous costume for a scene. She smiled despite everything. At least she had that. At least she had him. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She opened it, thinking maybe it was someone from her English group. It wasn't. Nice hiding spot. But everyone knows you eat in the library like a loser. Even the nerds don't want to sit with you. Jasmine's appetite vanished. She looked around the empty library section, suddenly feeling exposed. Someone had been watching her. Someone knew her routine. Her hands trembled slightly as she deleted the message. The harassment continued throughout the week. Jasmine would find her backpack moved when she came back from the bathroom. Someone started a rumor that she'd gotten kicked out of her old school for stealing. In the hallways, she'd hear whispers that stopped when she got close enough to make out the words. On Friday, things escalated. It was gym class and they were playing volleyball. Jasmine was terrible at sports, but she tried her best. When it was her turn to serve, she missed the ball completely. The gym erupted in laughter, but one voice carried above the rest. Wow, she's as bad at volleyball as she is at making friends, Madison said loudly from across the net. Her friends cackled. Coach Williams blew his whistle. That's enough, Madison. Everyone misses sometimes, but the damage was done. For the rest of class, Jasmine felt every eye on her, waiting for her to mess up again. When she finally did get a decent hit, nobody acknowledged it. She was invisible except when she was being mocked. After class, as Jasmine was changing back into her regular clothes in the locker room, she overheard Madison talking to her friends just around the corner. "I don't get why she's even here," Madison said. "Like, this school has standards. My dad sits on the board, and I'm pretty sure they didn't accept any scholarship charity cases this year." "Maybe she lied on her application," one of the friends suggested. "Wouldn't surprise me. She's already a liar about other things. That jacket she wore the first day, I checked with my mom's stylist. The real version cost $3,000. There's no way she has the real one." Jasmine stood frozen behind her locker door. The jacket had cost way more than $3,000 because it was a one-of-a-kind piece. But she couldn't say that. She couldn't defend herself without revealing the truth about her father. She waited until Madison and her friends left before finishing getting dressed. Her eyes stung, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not again. That evening, Jasmine sat in her room staring at her homework without really seeing it. The house felt too big and too empty. Her dad had hired a housekeeper who came during the day and made dinner, but Mrs. Delgado had already left for the evening. It was just Jasmine alone with her thoughts, and they weren't good company. Her phone rang and her dad's face appeared on the screen. She almost didn't answer, but she knew he'd worry if she ignored his call. "Hey, kiddo," his familiar voice boomed through the speaker. "How's my favorite person doing?" "Hey, Dad," Jasmine said, trying to sound normal. "How's filming?" "Exhausting. We did this stunt today where I had to jump from one moving car to another. I'm getting too old for this stuff." He laughed, that deep rumble that always made her feel safe. "But forget about me. Tell me about school. Making friends? Acing your classes? Breaking hearts?" Jasmine forced a laugh. "School's fine. Classes are good. Teachers are nice." There was a pause. Her dad had always been able to read her even over the phone. "You sure about that? You sound tired." "Just homework stress," Jasmine said quickly. "Nothing major." "Jasmine." His voice was gentle but firm. "Talk to me. What's going on?" She wanted to tell him. The words were right there, pressing against her lips, but she swallowed them down. "Really, Dad, it's fine. Just adjusting, you know? New school, new people. It takes time." Another pause. "If anyone gives you trouble, any trouble at all, you tell me. I don't care if I'm on the other side of the world. You're the most important thing in my life, and nobody gets to make you feel bad. You understand me?" "I understand," Jasmine whispered. "Promise me if things get hard, you'll let me know. Promise me you won't try to handle everything alone." "I promise," she said, even though she wasn't sure she meant it. They talked for a few more minutes about safer topics. He told her about the cast and crew, about the beautiful mountains in Bulgaria, about how he couldn't wait to come home. When they hung up, Jasmine felt both better and worse. Better because hearing his voice always helped. Worse because lying to him made her feel guilty. The weekend provided a brief escape. Jasmine stayed home, caught up on homework, and video chatted with some friends from her old school. They talked about normal things, funny things, and for those moments, Jasmine could almost forget about Madison and Ridgemont High, but Monday always came. This time, it came with a new level of cruelty that Jasmine wasn't prepared for. She walked into school to find people staring at their phones and then looking at her with expressions ranging from pity to amusement. Her stomach dropped. Not again. She pulled out her own phone and checked the anonymous school social media page. What she saw made her blood run cold. Someone had created a fake profile pretending to be her. The profile was filled with posts claiming she thought she was better than everyone else, that she looked down on students who weren't wealthy, that she was only at Ridgemont because her sugar daddy paid her tuition. The posts were cruel and disgusting, painting her as someone completely opposite to who she actually was. Worse, someone had photoshopped pictures of her into embarrassing situations. Nothing inappropriate enough to get taken down immediately, but humiliating enough to make her want to disappear. The profile had hundreds of followers already. People were commenting, sharing, adding their own mean jokes. Jasmine felt sick. She went straight to Mr. Chen's office without even stopping at her locker. He looked up when she entered, and his expression immediately shifted to concern. "Jasmine? What's wrong?" She couldn't speak at first. She just handed him her phone with the fake profile pulled up. Mr. Chen's face darkened as he scrolled through it. "Who did this?" "I don't know for sure," Jasmine said quietly. "But I have an idea. Madison Pierce? Jasmine looked up in surprise. Mr. Chen sighed. You're not the first student to have problems with her. She's been, let's say, on our radar before. But this is serious. This is cyberbullying, and it's against school policy and potentially illegal. Can you get it taken down? Jasmine asked. I'm going to try. And I need you to document everything. Every message, every post, every incident. Can you do that? Jasmine nodded. I also think we need to involve your parents. This has gone beyond typical school conflict. Jasmine's heart raced. Can we wait? Just a little while. My dad's out of the country working and I don't want to worry him. Mr. Chen looked uncertain. Jasmine, your father would want to know about this. I know. I'll tell him. I want to try to handle this first, please. Against his better judgment, Mr. Chen agreed to give her a few days. But he made her promise to keep him updated and to come to him immediately if things got worse. Things got worse. By the end of the week, the fake profile was still up despite Mr. Chen's complaints to the platform. Madison had somehow avoided any consequences because there was no proof she'd created it. The harassment in school intensified. People would bump into Jasmine in the hallways and say, "Oops, sorry, didn't see you there," in a mocking tone. Someone put a "kick me" sign on her back that she didn't notice until third period. Her lunch got accidentally knocked off the table twice. Through it all, Jasmine kept her head down. She went to class, did her work, and tried to ignore everything else. But inside, she was breaking apart piece by piece. On Friday afternoon, she sat alone in the library during lunch, finally allowing herself to feel the full weight of everything. She pulled out her phone and looked at the last text from her dad. He'd sent her a selfie making a goofy face with the message, "Sending you Friday vibes. Love you to the moon and back." Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She started typing several times and deleted it each time. Finally, she settled on something simple. "Dad, can we talk tonight? Something's been going on at school and I need your help." She hit send before she could change her mind. His response came within seconds. "I'll call you in 20 minutes. Whatever it is, we'll handle it together." Jasmine felt something loosen in her chest. She'd held this in for so long, trying to be strong, trying to prove she could handle things on her own. But the truth was she couldn't, not anymore. This was bigger than her, and she needed her father. She needed help. That evening, Jasmine sat on her bed with her laptop open, showing her dad everything. The fake profile, the messages, the posts. She told him about Madison, about the constant harassment, about feeling alone and scared and overwhelmed. She told him everything she'd been holding back for weeks, and her father listened. When she finished, there was silence on the other end. Then his voice came through, calm but with an edge she recognized. It was the voice he used in movies when his character was about to do something serious. "Jasmine, I'm so proud of you for telling me, but I need you to know something. You should never ever feel like you have to handle something like this alone. That's what I'm here for. That's what family is for." "I know," Jasmine said softly. "I just wanted to be normal. I didn't want to be the girl whose famous dad had to fix her problems." "You are normal. You're a teenager dealing with a bully. That's unfortunately very normal. But what's not okay is letting it continue. I'm coming home." "Dad, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. Some things are more important than movies, kiddo." "Well, you're more important than anything. I'll be on a plane tomorrow. In the meantime, I want you to forward everything to me. Every screenshot, every message, everything. We're documenting all of it." For the first time in weeks, Jasmine felt a flicker of hope. She wasn't alone anymore. Her dad was coming home, and together they would face this. Madison Pierce had no idea what was coming. Jasmine woke up Saturday morning feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Her dad was coming home. She wasn't alone in this anymore. She spent the morning organizing all the evidence. Screenshots of the fake profile, saved messages, photos of the vandalized locker notes. Everything was documented in a folder on her laptop. Mrs. Delgado made her favorite breakfast, pancakes with strawberries, and even that tasted better knowing her dad would be home soon. He'd texted her his flight details. He'd arrive late Sunday night. "You seem happier today," Mrs. Delgado observed, pouring orange juice. "Good weekend plans?" "My dad's coming home," Jasmine said, and she couldn't help but smile. "Ah, that explains it. The house is always brighter when he's here." Jasmine spent the rest of the weekend preparing. She cleaned her room, did all her homework, and even picked up her dad's favorite snacks from the store. Keeping busy helped her not think about Monday, about facing Madison again. about the fake profile that was still up despite multiple reports. Sunday night came slowly, and then all at once. Jasmine heard the front door open around 11. She'd been lying in bed, unable to sleep, waiting for that sound. She jumped up and ran downstairs. Her dad stood in the entryway, still in his travel clothes, a duffel bag at his feet. He looked exhausted from the long flight, but his face lit up when he saw her. Jasmine ran straight into his arms. "Hey, kiddo," he said, hugging her tight. "I missed you." "I missed you too," she said, her voice muffled against his chest. They stayed like that for a long moment. Then he pulled back and looked at her carefully, his hands on her shoulders. "You okay?" Jasmine nodded. "Better now that you're here." They went to the kitchen and sat at the counter. Even though it was late, neither of them wanted to sleep yet. Jasmine pulled out her laptop and walked him through everything again, in more detail this time. He listened without interrupting, his jaw getting tighter with each new piece of evidence. "This Madison girl," he said finally. "She's been doing this for weeks? And the school hasn't stopped it?" "Mr. Chen has tried. But she's careful. There's no direct proof she made the fake profile, and her parents are wealthy donors to the school." Her dad's expression darkened. "Money doesn't give anyone the right to torture another student. Tomorrow morning, I'm calling the school. We're setting up a meeting. Dad, what if it makes things worse? Worse than this?" He gestured to the laptop screen showing the fake profile. "Jasmine, this isn't going to get better on its own. Trust me on this. I've dealt with bullies my whole life. The only way to stop them is to stand up to them. But I don't want everyone to know you're my dad. That's the whole reason I came to this school. To be normal." He was quiet for a moment, then squeezed her hand. "I know, and I respect that. But your safety and well-being matter more than any secret. We'll handle this as carefully as possible. I promise, Monday morning arrived too quickly." Jasmine's dad had already been up for hours by the time she came downstairs. He was in his home office on the phone, and from his tone, she could tell he was talking to someone important. When he emerged, he looked determined. Meeting set for this afternoon. 3 o'clock with Principal Hoffman, the guidance counselor, and the school board representative. I also called our lawyer. She's reviewing everything. Our lawyer? Jasmine felt her stomach flip. Just a precaution. The school needs to understand this is serious. They failed to protect you, Jasmine. That's not okay. The school day was torture. Jasmine couldn't focus on anything. In every class, her mind wandered to the meeting that afternoon. What would happen? Would Madison find out? Would everyone know by tomorrow that her dad was Vin Diesel? At lunch, she sat in her usual library spot, pushing food around her tray without eating. Her phone buzzed. Another message from the fake profile had been posted that morning. This one claimed she'd been talking badly about other students. The lies just kept coming. When the final bell rang, Jasmine's hands were shaking. She went to the main office where her dad was supposed to meet her. He was already there, sitting in one of the uncomfortable plastic chairs, looking completely out of place in his leather jacket and boots. A few students walking by did double takes, recognizing him but probably assuming he couldn't actually be there. "Ready?" he asked, standing up when he saw her. "Not really." "That's okay. I'm ready enough for both of us." They were led to Principal Hoffman's office. It was a large room with diplomas on the walls and photos of various school events. Principal Hoffman sat behind his desk, a thin man with graying hair and nervous energy. Mr. Chen was there too, along with a woman in a business suit who introduced herself as Patricia Wells from the school board. "Mr. Diesel," Principal Hoffman said, standing to shake his hand. His voice had an edge of anxiety. "This is unexpected. I wasn't aware Jasmine was your daughter." "That was intentional," her dad said, his voice calm but firm. "My daughter wanted a normal high school experience. Instead, she's been systematically bullied for weeks while your staff did nothing to stop it. Now, that's not entirely fair," Principal Hoffman started. "Isn't it?" Her dad pulled out a tablet and started showing them everything. The screenshots, the messages, the fake profile. Mr. Chen reported these incidents. My daughter came to him for help. And yet this continued. Can you explain why? Mr. Chen shifted uncomfortably. I did everything I could within my authority. But without concrete proof of who created the fake profile, my hands were tied. The harassment happened on school grounds, her dad said. The locker vandalism, the public humiliation, the exclusion. Those things you could have addressed. But you didn't. Patricia Wells from the school board leaned forward. Mr. Diesel, we take bullying very seriously at Ridgemont High. If there were oversights, we'll address them. Can you tell us who you believe is responsible? Madison Pierce, Jasmine said quietly. Everyone looked at her. It's been her from the beginning. Principal Hoffman's face went pale. Madison Pierce, Gregory Pierce's daughter. Is that a problem? Her dad asked, his tone dangerous. No, of course not, Principal Hoffman said quickly. All students are held to the same standard. Are they? Her dad crossed his arms. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like some students get special treatment because of who their parents are. The meeting lasted over an hour. Jasmine's dad laid out everything clearly and calmly, but there was steel underneath his words. He explained that he'd already consulted with a lawyer about potential legal action against both the school and the Pierce family. He talked about duty of care, negligence, and the lasting psychological impact of bullying. Principal Hoffman became increasingly flustered. Patricia Wells took notes and asked questions. Mr. Chen looked relieved that someone was finally taking this seriously. We'll launch an immediate investigation, Patricia Wells said finally. Madison will be questioned, and if we find evidence linking her to any of this harassment, she'll face serious consequences. What kind of consequences? Her dad asked. That depends on what we find, but it could range from suspension to expulsion. And the fake social media profile? We'll work with the platform to have it removed immediately. We'll also send a message to all parents about cyberbullying and the consequences. Her dad nodded. I want weekly updates on the investigation, and I want assurances that my daughter will be safe at this school. If she's not, I won't hesitate to take further action. Understood, Principal Hoffman said, looking like he wanted the meeting to be over. As they left the office, Jasmine felt numb. It was done. Her secret was out, at least to the school administration. There was no going back now. You did great in there, her dad said as they walked to the parking lot. I know that was hard. What happens now? Now we wait and see if they actually do their jobs. But Jasmine, I want you to know something. You're not going back to that school until I'm confident you'll be safe. You can do online classes from home for a few days. Jasmine wanted to argue, but honestly, the thought of not having to face those hallways tomorrow was a relief. The next morning, Jasmine stayed home while her dad worked from his home office. She tried to focus on her assignments, but her mind kept wandering. What was happening at school? Had they questioned Madison yet? Did everyone know now? Her phone buzzed around noon. It was a text from Amy, the girl from her English group project. Is it true your dad is Vin Diesel? So the word was out. Jasmine didn't respond. More messages started coming in, some from people she barely knew, suddenly wanting to be friends, others asking if she could get them autographs or invitations to movie premieres. A few were genuinely kind, saying they were sorry about what happened and asking if she was okay. But the message that surprised her most came that evening. It was from an unknown number. We need to talk. This is Madison. Jasmine stared at the message for a long time. Then she showed it to her dad. Don't respond, he said immediately. This could be a trick or she could be trying to intimidate you. But something in Jasmine's gut told her this was different. The message didn't sound angry or mocking. It sounded almost scared. The next day, Mr. Chen called. The investigation had confirmed that Madison was behind the fake profile. They'd traced it back to her IP address, and she'd admitted to it when confronted. She was being suspended for 2 weeks, and her parents had been informed of potential legal consequences. There's something else, Mr. Chen said. Madison's been asking to speak with Jasmine. Obviously, you're under no obligation to agree to that, but I wanted you to know. After he hung up, Jasmine looked at her dad. I think I want to hear what she has to say. Absolutely not. She doesn't get to harass you for weeks and then demand your time. I'm not saying forgive her. I just want to know why. I want to understand what I did that made her hate me so much. Her dad studied her face for a long moment. You didn't do anything wrong. You know that, right? This is about her, not you. I know, but I still want to hear it. Finally, he sighed. If we do this, it's supervised, Mr. Chen's office. I'll be right outside. And the second you want it to stop, it stops. Deal? Deal. The meeting was arranged for Friday afternoon. Jasmine's dad drove her to the school, and they walked together to Mr. Chen's office. Madison was already there, sitting in one of the chairs looking smaller than Jasmine had ever seen her. Her perfect hair was in a simple ponytail, and she wasn't wearing any makeup. She looked like a regular teenager, not the confident bully who'd made Jasmine's life miserable. I'll be right outside, her dad said, giving Jasmine's shoulder a squeeze. "You've got this." Mr. Chen sat at his desk but stayed quiet, letting the girls take the lead. Jasmine sat down across from Madison. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Finally, Madison broke the silence. "I'm sorry," Jasmine waited. Sorry wasn't enough, and they both knew it. "I know that doesn't fix anything," Madison continued, her voice shaky. "I know I was horrible to you. I wanted you to know that I know that." "Why?" Jasmine asked. "What did I ever do to you?" Madison looked down at her hands. "Nothing. You didn't do anything. That's the stupid part. I saw you that first day and you just seemed so confident even though you were new. You had that jacket and you didn't care about sitting at the popular table. You didn't care what anyone thought. And I hated that because I care so much what everyone thinks. So you decided to make me miserable? I wanted to take you down before you could become more popular than me. I know how pathetic that sounds. My therapist is helping me understand how messed up my thinking was." Madison looked up and there were tears in her eyes. "My parents are furious. They're talking about sending me to boarding school. And honestly, I deserve it. I deserve way worse than that for what I did to you." Jasmine felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of her wanted to yell at Madison, to tell her exactly how much pain she'd caused, but another part of her just felt tired. Tired of being angry, tired of being scared, tired of all of it. "I'm not going to say it's okay," Jasmine said slowly, "because it's not. You made me feel terrible about myself. You made me afraid to go to school. You created lies about me that other people believed. I know. But I also don't want to spend the rest of high school hating you. So here's what I need from you. I need you to leave me alone completely. No texts, no posts, no looking at me in the hallway. Nothing. And I need you to tell everyone that the fake profile was lies. All of it." Madison nodded quickly. "I already started doing that. I posted an apology on the school page. I took full responsibility." "Good." Jasmine stood up. "I hope you actually learn from this. I hope you become a better person. But I don't need to be around to see it." As Jasmine walked out of the office, she felt something shift inside her. She hadn't forgiven Madison, but she'd said what she needed to say. She'd stood up for herself, and that felt powerful. Her dad was waiting in the hallway. "How'd it go?" "It went okay. I'm ready to go home now." As they drove home, Jasmine looked out the window at the afternoon sun. Things weren't perfect. Madison's apology didn't erase the weeks of pain. But at least now everyone knew the truth. The fake profile was down. The lies were exposed. And Jasmine didn't have to hide anymore. "I'm proud of you," her dad said quietly. "Thanks, Dad, for everything. For coming home, for believing me, for having my back. Always, kiddo. Always." 2 months had passed since Madison's suspension, and Ridgemont High felt like a completely different place. Not perfect, but different. Jasmine walked through the hallways now without that constant knot of anxiety in her stomach. She still got stares, but they were different kinds of stares. Curious ones. Some friendly. Some just recognizing her as Vin Diesel's daughter, which she'd made peace with. It turned out that being known wasn't as bad as she'd feared. Sure, some people only wanted to talk to her because of her dad, but she'd also found real friends. Kids who liked her sense of humor, who appreciated that she actually listened when they talked, who invited her to study groups and weekend hangouts. Tanya was her closest friend now, a girl from her chemistry class who'd approached her one day and simply said, "That thing with Madison was messed up. Want to eat lunch together?" They'd been inseparable since. Tanya didn't care about celebrity stuff. Her favorite topics were true crime podcasts and terrible reality TV shows, and she made Jasmine laugh until her stomach hurt. "You coming to the basketball game Friday?" Tanya asked as they walked to English class together. "Maybe. My dad might be around and things get weird when he shows up to school stuff." "Weird how?" "Picture every parent suddenly wanting selfies and every teacher acting super nervous." Tanya laughed. "Okay, yeah, that sounds annoying. But you should still come. It'll be fun." As they turned the corner, Jasmine saw Madison at her locker down the hall. They made brief eye contact, then both looked away. That had been their routine since Madison came back from suspension. Complete avoidance. Madison kept her head down, ate lunch alone, and basically made herself invisible. Jasmine had heard rumors about what happened to Madison's social life. Her old friends had ditched her immediately. Nobody wanted to be associated with the girl who'd created a fake bullying profile and gotten exposed. The same people who'd laughed at her jokes before now whispered about her behind her back. Part of Jasmine felt bad about it. but another part remembered those weeks of torture and felt like maybe this was just consequences. What Jasmine didn't know was what was happening in Madison's life outside school. The girl who used to rule the hallways was sitting in therapy twice a week, unpacking years of pressure and insecurity. Dr. Reynolds, her therapist, was helping her understand why she'd needed to tear others down to feel powerful. "Tell me about your parents," Dr. Reynolds said during one session. Madison shifted uncomfortably on the leather couch. "What about them? You've mentioned they're disappointed in you. Can you elaborate on that?" "They're always disappointed. This is just worse." Madison's voice was flat. "My dad told me I embarrassed the family name. My mom can't even look at me without sighing. They're threatening boarding school because they don't want to deal with the scandal. How does that make you feel? Like I finally did something they couldn't fix with money or connections?" Madison laughed bitterly. "My whole life I thought if I was perfect enough, popular enough, they'd actually notice me. But they only noticed when I screwed up." Dr. Reynolds nodded thoughtfully. "So being the queen bee at school was your way of feeling valuable?" "I guess. If I couldn't get my parents to care, at least I could get other kids to care. Even if it was because they were scared of me." Madison looked down at her hands. "But now nobody cares, and I finally get why that's fair." The sessions were hard, but slowly Madison started to see herself differently. She started to understand that hurting others hadn't made her powerful. It had just made her cruel. And the worst part was realizing she'd become exactly like her parents, using status and money to control people. Back at school, things continued to evolve. The administration had implemented new anti-bullying programs. There were assemblies, anonymous reporting systems, and actual consequences for harassment. Principal Hoffman, clearly trying to avoid a lawsuit, had become hyper-vigilant about student conflicts. One afternoon in late November, Jasmine was in the library working on a history project when someone sat down across from her. She looked up expecting Tanya, but it was Madison. Jasmine's first instinct was to leave, but something made her stay. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the fact that Madison looked genuinely nervous, not threatening. "I know you said to leave you alone," Madison said quietly, "and I will after this. I just wanted to tell you something." Jasmine waited, her guard up. "I've been volunteering at a community center downtown. They have this program for kids who are being bullied, and I've been helping with it." Madison's words came out in a rush. "I know it doesn't fix what I did to you, but I wanted to do something that actually mattered. Something that wasn't just about me. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know that what happened changed me. Really changed me. I'm not asking for forgiveness or friendship or anything. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better." Jasmine studied her for a moment. Madison looked different. Less makeup, simpler clothes, and something else had changed in her eyes. She looked tired but more genuine somehow. "Okay," Jasmine said finally. "Thanks for telling me." Madison nodded and stood up to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, I'm glad you stood up to me. I needed someone to stop me before I became even worse." After she left, Jasmine sat there thinking. She texted her dad about it that evening. "Madison talked to me today, said she's volunteering with anti-bullying programs." His response came quickly. "How do you feel about that?" "Confused? I don't know if I believe she's really changed. People can change, kiddo, but they have to prove it with actions, not words. Time will tell," he was right. Time would tell. The weeks passed and Jasmine watched from a distance as Madison slowly, quietly went about rebuilding herself. Not her reputation, that was pretty much destroyed, but herself as a person. She saw Madison eating lunch alone every day, reading or doing homework. She heard that Madison had quit the cheerleading squad and dropped out of student council. Tanya had the inside scoop from a girl whose sister volunteered at the same community center. Apparently Madison is there like 3 times a week. She actually talks to the kids about her experiences, like admits what she did wrong and why bullying doesn't make you powerful. "Weird," Jasmine said. "Right? Character development nobody expected." In December, the school held its annual winter assembly. This year's theme was creating a positive school culture. Principal Hoffman gave a boring speech. The student council president talked about upcoming events. Then Mr. Chen stepped up to the microphone. "We're going to do something different today," he said. "We're going to hear from students about their real experiences. These are difficult stories, but important ones. The first student talked about being excluded because of her learning disability. The second shared his experience as one of the few Asian students in a predominantly white school. Then Mr. Chen called Madison's name. The auditorium went silent. Madison walked up to the microphone looking terrified. She stood there for a moment, clearly gathering courage. "Hi," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Most of you know me. Most of you probably don't like me, and I understand why." She took a breath. "I was a bully. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or make excuses. I targeted students who I thought were vulnerable. I created fake profiles, spread rumors, and made people's lives miserable. I did it because I was insecure and thought making others feel small would make me feel big." You could hear a pin drop in the auditorium. "It didn't work," Madison continued, her voice stronger now. "It just made me a terrible person. And when I got caught, I lost everything. My friends, my reputation, my parents' respect. But the worst part wasn't losing those things. The worst part was realizing how much pain I'd caused people who didn't deserve it." She looked out at the crowd, and her eyes briefly met Jasmine's. "I'm sharing this because I want you to know that if you're bullying someone, stop. It's not worth it. You're not going to feel better about yourself by making someone else feel worse. And if you're being bullied, tell someone. Keep telling people until someone listens. Don't suffer in silence like I made my victims do." Madison stepped back from the microphone, and there was scattered, uncertain applause. As she walked back to her seat, Jasmine noticed her hands were shaking. After the assembly, Jasmine found herself thinking about what Madison had said. It wasn't a perfect apology. It didn't erase anything. But it was real. And maybe that mattered. That evening, Jasmine's dad came home early from a meeting. He'd been around more since the bullying situation, making sure his filming schedule allowed for more time at home. "How was school?" he asked, finding her in the kitchen making a snack. "Interesting. There was this assembly and Madison spoke about being a bully." "How'd that go?" "Honestly, it seemed genuine. She admitted everything. Didn't make excuses." Her dad pulled up a chair at the kitchen counter. "You know, when I was about your age, there was this kid who made my life hell. Called me names, picked fights, all of it. Years later, I ran into him. He apologized. Told me he'd been dealing with stuff at home and took it out on others. Did you forgive him?" "Eventually. Not right away. But I realized that holding on to anger was hurting me more than it was hurting him. Forgiveness isn't about saying what they did was okay. It's about freeing yourself from carrying that weight around." Jasmine nodded slowly. "I don't know if I'm ready to forgive her. That's okay. You don't have to be. Maybe you'll never be ready, and that's okay too. But don't let what she did define how you see yourself. You're stronger than what happened to you." The next day, something unexpected happened. Jasmine was at her locker when a freshman girl approached her nervously. "Excuse me, are you Jasmine?" "Yeah? I just wanted to say thank you. I heard what happened with you and Madison Pierce, and it helped me. I was being bullied by some girls in my grade, and I was too scared to tell anyone. But after hearing your story, I talked to Mr. Chen. They're handling it now." The girl walked away before Jasmine could respond. She stood there surprised.